that back then, in the middle of the 20th century, there were people who could think beyond industrial parks and the shallowness of most contemporary building, and that there were people who understood majesty and vision.
Curious about ancient architectural feats? Discovery.com takes you to Egypt. Meet up with scientists and explore the pyramids only at Discovery.com. Next, catch this week's top science headlines on Discovery News, coming up only on the Discovery Channel.
This week on Discovery News.
High in the Tibetan mountains, a majestic antelope is being slaughtered for its wool to satisfy the fashion whim of supermodels and socialites.
It has become a must-have fashion item among the elite on planet Earth.
The race to halt the illegal trade of Shattush wool before the Tibetan antelope disappears forever. Plus, shake, rattle, and a telltale roar. As volcanoes in Italy and Ecuador put local populations at risk, one scientist fine-tunes a new method for predicting killer eruptions, listening to what volcanoes have to say. A crisis in the classroom. Teenagers give up on science. What a new competition is doing to reignite their interest. And a mammoth mission at the end of the Earth. Scientists carve a 20,000-year-old woolly mammoth from the Siberian ice in an effort to study and possibly clone this prehistoric beast.
From the Discovery Channel and ABC News. Discovery News with Steve Avison.
Welcome to Discovery News. It is a sign of wealth and style, a status symbol that is spelling doom for an entire species. Shattush is a rare type of wool spun from the fur of antelopes living in the Tibetan mountains. Shawls knitted from this wool are among the most expensive and coveted garments on Earth. They're also highly illegal. Deborah Wong reports on the crackdown on Shattush wool, which has pitted federal agents against the rich and famous.
They live in one of the most remote corners of the Earth, 15,000 feet above sea level, high on the Tibetan plateau. Tibetan antelope once roamed here in huge numbers, but now an estimated 75,000 remain, and scientists fear they're on the verge of extinction. Wong Hao Man is an explorer and conservationist. Last summer, he set out to find the place where migrating females go each year to give birth. What he discovered were scenes of slaughter.
Apparently, the poachers were there just perhaps within the same day or a day ahead of us, because most of the carcasses were still full of meat, and they only stripped off from the neck down the entire hide for the wool to be taken out.
In all, Wong's team uncovered 7 groups of dead females, many with their young lying beside them, shot and skinned by poachers. What the poachers are after is the antelope's unusual and highly prized wool.
The fine hairs are painstakingly pulled from the hides of the dead antelope, and they're spun into a wool called Shattush, which means king of wool. It's perhaps the finest wool in the world, and for centuries it's been used to make shawls like this. Shattush is highly prized for its softness and its warmth. This full-size shawl is incredibly light. It weighs next to nothing, and yet just holding it will make your hands sweat.
In recent years, Shattush shawls have become one of the hottest fashion trends all over the world.
It has become a must-have fashion item among the elite on planet Earth.
A must-have item that, in many cases, is illegal to possess. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has begun to crack down on the Shattush trade, confiscating tens of thousands of dollars worth of shawls and scarves from some of this country's wealthiest and most famous faces.
While we're not going to walk around and rip these things off people's shoulders, we are engaged in an active, ongoing investigation to find both the channel of delivery and the consumers of these products.
Fashion model Christy Brinkley has surrendered her Shattush, so has designer Donna Karan. And more than 100 other socialites and celebrities have been summoned to testify about Shatouche before a grand jury in New Jersey. One of them is New Yorker Nan Kempner.
All of a sudden, I got a summons. I've never had a summons in my life before. So needless to say, the minute I got home, I raced to my lawyer, and I said, what do I do? And he took over for me.
Traditionally, Shatouche shawls have been collected and worn by India's wealthy elite.
My aunt went to India many, many, many years ago, and I can remember her being wrapped in the softest, most beautiful shawls. And then when I went to India myself about 25 years ago, first thing I wanted to find was a Shatouche.
But international trade in Tibetan antelope wool has been prohibited since 1975, when the Chinese government listed the animal as threatened. Since then, 145 countries have agreed to protect it.
The people buying the shawls may or may not know that this is an endangered animal product. But ignorance, of course, is not a defense.
According to Kempner, many Shatouche owners believed the fine Shatouche fibers were harmlessly gathered by nomads.
I believed, as I say, that the goat in the Himalayas rubbed his chin against the bushes, and the natives came and took this wonderful soft fuzzy hair that didn't come from any other part of the animal, collected it, and wove the material.
But the truth is that these rare animals are slaughtered to make the shawls, the finest of which command prices upwards of $10,000 each. Poachers are finding the market irresistible. The Chinese government estimates that up to 20,000 antelope are being killed each year.
It was just when Hollywood and the fashion industry got into buying these things that we started noticing increasing illegal trade in these items, and at the same time was a corresponding decimation of these Tibetan antelope herds in the wild in Tibet.
Chinese law bans the killing of antelope, but on the Tibetan plateau, the laws are practically impossible to enforce. Antelope herds roam across a vast wilderness the size of some European countries. Wang Haoman says scientists are rushing to study the antelope's migration and breeding habits to try to find a way to better protect them in the future.
Before the rest of the world even get to see the intrinsic beauty of these animals in the open plain, they could be all hunted down.
A fate authorities in the U.S. and around the world are working hard to avoid. Deborah Wong, ABC News, Hong Kong.
When we come back, the sound of imminent danger. Why this scientist keeps his ear to the ground in order to predict deadly volcanic eruptions. The hissing cockroach of Madagascar and a stick insect from New Guinea. Kids compete in the exotic world of science. And the incredible fossil find and recovery in Siberia. A woolly mammoth so perfectly preserved, scientists may be able to clone it.
This program is brought to you in part by Chrysler, engineered to be great cars.
Chrysler Concorde, four-wheel independent suspension, and a powerful V6.
I didn't know Davis could move like that.
I told him to think of himself as something powerful and agile.
Wonder what he was thinking.
Now get $1,000 cash allowance on the Chrysler Concorde.
Shannon Sharp, please, has always talking trash.
You're paying, baby!
He's always trying to get inside your head.
Seahorn, you don't know your elbows from your...
And sometimes, he can get downright nasty.
I bet you pay transaction fees on your mutual funds. Your mama pays full commission. You know how to calculate a P/E ratio?
When we created a smarter kind of investment firm,
How diversified is your portfolio?
we created a smarter kind of investor.
You can't even spell Dow Jones. Woo! Okay, guys, let's get this right. To calculate a P/E ratio, you divide the stock price.
You're watching Discovery News on the Discovery Channel.
Pentium 3 processor owners, we've designed a website especially for you. Intel's Web Outfitters service. Everything you need for a great internet experience. You can mix your own music. Improve the quality of your pictures. Even create your own websites. Intel's Web Outfitters service. Get it now. Free at Intel.com.
We process oranges and cocoa in Brazil. Blend and distribute animal feeds on 5 continents. Export North American grain to hungry markets around the world. And produce fertilizers in Saskatchewan and Florida, where our neighbors are flocking to their new home. Cargill. It's not just what we do, it's how we do it.
You're watching Discovery News on the Discovery Channel.
The Turkish earthquake left more than 1 million people in desperate need of help, and help can't wait. Please support the victims of the Turkish earthquake. Contact the Red Cross at www.redcross.org.
Volcanoes erupted this week from Europe to South America, forcing thousands of residents to flee their homes. Predicting when and where a volcano will erupt has been impossible to do until now. Deborah Amos reports on a researcher with a novel method for detecting dangerous eruptions. He listens to what volcanoes have to say.
For the past week, Italy's Mount Etna volcano has been spewing lava and smoke, lighting up the night sky over Sicily. Scientists are monitoring the volcano around the clock. Scientists are also watching the Tungurahua volcano in Ecuador, where this week an explosion of gas and dust forced an evacuation of 25,000 people from a nearby town. Residents marched in the streets, praying for its activity to end. Volcanoes threaten nearly 1/10 of the world's population. When they erupt unexpectedly, they can be deadly. 2 years ago, 19 people were killed when volcanic ash roared down a mountainside on the Caribbean island of Montserrat. In 1985, 23,000 lives were lost when a volcano in Colombia erupted. Now, in an effort to save lives, geophysicist Milton Garces has been studying the Arenal volcano in Costa Rica. He's looking at a new way to predict when dangerous volcanoes will erupt. He listens to them.
The chugging sound is something that we have observed at other volcanoes, and we think it's because of unstable flow inside the magma conduits.
Garces believes all volcanoes are trying to tell us something. All you have to do, he says, is know how to interpret the message. For 5 years, he's been doing just that, developing a volcano stethoscope to study the sounds of a volcano.
We are recording acoustic waves generated by volcanic eruptions and doing volcanic activity.
With a string of microphones, he records what are called infrasonic sound waves from volcanoes, which are inaudible to the human ear. Garces focuses on sound waves rather than seismic waves, the rumblings of magma deep at the core of the volcano, because sound waves travel through the air, a much cleaner path into the atmosphere. Seismic waves, which travel through the ground, often get distorted.
And so we're measuring pressure directly, and it provides a window into the volcanic system itself.
Milton Garces listened to volcanoes from Italy to Antarctica. Then he came back here to Costa Rica to test his theory, because Arenal, a relatively young volcano at 4,000 years old, is one of the most active in the world.
We're picking Arenal volcano because it has a very beautiful voice. It's the clearest, one of the clearest signals in the world.
In fact, unlike most volcanoes, Arenal has been consistently active for more than 30 years. It has frequent small eruptions, sometimes as many as 30 a day, which makes every eruption a chance to study. Garces has learned that by listening to the change in sound, he can detect a change in the gas content.
You can hear the changing pitch, and when the pitch gets higher, that would correspond to a lower gas content. And when the pitch gets lower, that corresponds to a higher gas content.
Garces claims that with this information, he now knows the rate of eruptions at Arenal and can predict its activity up to 5 hours in advance. He hopes to apply this theory to other volcanoes worldwide.
You take this knowledge, this understanding, and you take it to a more dangerous situation or a more sporadic situation.
A more dangerous situation like on the slopes of Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier in Washington state, or on Mexico's Popocatépetl volcano, only 40 miles southeast of Mexico City, the world's biggest city, where 20 million people live. For now, Milton Garces will continue to listen to what this one volcano is telling him, because it's information, he says, that could be applied to all volcanoes, saving millions of lives for those who live below them. Deborah Amos, ABC News, Costa Rica.
Coming up, scientists for a day. 40 of the top students in the United States face off in a high-stakes science competition. And freed from the ice after 20,000 years. How scientists plan to bring this perfectly preserved woolly mammoth back to life.
Every day, Wall Street traders rely on the most advanced technology in the world. Shouldn't the rest of us be able to do the same? Daytech Online. The rules are changing.
You're watching Discovery News on the Discovery Channel.
Some people will naturally put themselves out for others. Which is why one day, we hope that Rebecca's favorite job will be with the world's favorite airline.
Next, a new virus has scientists concerned it may be the next plague on Discover magazine. And global warming causes natural disasters such as flood and fire on Storm Warning, coming up.
This guy comes to me with this piece of paper, and he's got, radiator fluid dripping down his sleeves. It's getting all over my...
Johnny, what's the big idea sneaking around here? Yeah, what's wrong, Johnny?
I just got the dirt on the guy who runs Tommytown. He moves more product than all of us combined. And what's really scary, he offers financing to anyone the law allows.
You got a problem with that?
Preserving the treasures of the Oregon coast.
Statistically, American high school students lag far behind other countries when it comes to science. To spark teenagers' interest, there are science fairs and competitions across the country. This year, the Discovery Channel hosted a national tournament for students even younger to draw them to science before it's too late. These are some of the best and brightest young minds in science. 40 students competing in a new national science contest for middle school kids. The first annual Discovery Young Scientists Challenge spanned 5 days at the National Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C.
It's kind of fun. It's really fun, actually.
The 40 students were handpicked at local science fairs from more than 50,000 other students across the country.
Would that work, you think?
They're judged largely on their performance in 5 different science experiments. Each student gets an individual score, but to complete the experiments, they must work together in teams.
That's what science is about. It's about teamwork and it's about collaboration, and that's what they had to do here.
The scientists involved in the competition say it's designed to get students grades 5 through 8 excited about science.
Middle school is a pivotal age because that's when the drop-off occurs, when their interest wanes.
So it has to stay 110.
Studies have shown that middle school is also when performance in science begins to plummet. On a recent standardized science test, 4th graders from the United States scored 40 points higher than the world average. But after that, American scores take a nosedive, with 12th graders finishing a full 20 points below the average. To prevent that drop, educators want to intervene early and make science more dynamic in middle school.
They seem to have a natural interest in elementary school. The reason why is science at that age is very hands-on. We need to take that lesson and keep moving it forward. Hands-on, inquiry.
You have to be able to see the line.
Last week's contest was filled with hands-on activities and scientific inquiry.
You have to do 4 tests for 2 different ecosystems.
In the marine biology lab, students compared the water in 2 different exhibit tanks, the warm Caribbean and the cool coast of Maine.
15.2 looks like where we're going to stay. All right.
We took the salinity level, the temperature, the dissolved oxygen rate, and we compared them.
The task in the chemistry lab to combine 2 unknown chemicals and figure out how to control exactly when the mixture turns black.
We did trial and error until we found what we needed.
During all the experiments, students were judged not just on whether they could find the right answers, but on the methods and techniques they used in their search.
I think it's mainly to test and see our process of how we're doing things.
In the end, the judges decided that one student stood out.
Mr. Kevin Kuhn.
I'm really excited. I had no clue I was going to win.
His award, the grand prize, a $10,000 scholarship for college, where he plans to study marine biology. The competition and all of the finalists will be the subject of a 1-hour special airing early next year on Discovery Science, one of Discovery's digital networks. In a moment, the race to recover and possibly clone a 20,000-year-old woolly mammoth.
This program is brought to you in part by Lincoln Financial Group. Lincoln Financial Group, clear solutions in a complex world.
40 years ago, we started this business. 10 years ago, our sons wanted to help. Last year, our daughter decided to join. Our whole family is in the business. How do we make sure the business stays in our family?
At Lincoln Financial Group, we provide clear, understandable business succession planning to help you preserve the work of a lifetime. Lincoln Financial Group, clear solutions in a complex world.
You're watching Discovery News on the Discovery Channel.
Choose your minivan. From the most luxurious Chrysler Town & Country Limited to America's lowest priced Voyager, you'll find it all in a Chrysler or Plymouth minivan. Maybe that's why Voyager won a Consumer's Digest Best Buy 10 years in a row. And maybe that's why more people choose from our family of minivans than any other.
Discover how plants and animals cope, adapt, and even exploit the powers of nature. Violent Earth, Sunday at 8 Eastern and Pacific on Discovery Sunday. Explore your world. The Discovery Channel. Coming up.
An update on a story we reported first last June. The discovery of a fully intact 20,000-year-old woolly mammoth encased in ice. A team of researchers has returned to Siberia to free the specimen. The animal is so well preserved, it may be possible to recover its DNA and someday even clone it. Ned Potter reports on the latest developments above the Arctic Circle.
It is a surreal sight, a 25-ton block of ice containing the world's most perfectly preserved mammoth, being flown by helicopter 200 miles across the remote Siberian tundra.
To see this block of ice being raised, little by little, it was of course magical. But it was more than that, because it was the realization of a dream.
For the past 5 weeks, these men have been at the top of the world, chipping at the ice to remove a frozen animal that died more than 20,000 years ago. French explorer Bernard Bouygues is the leader of the expedition.
The idea from the beginning was to have a challenge. I wanted to do something that was different from what other paleontologists had done, and that was to remove this mammoth, preserving its frozen state in one piece. So I brought the tusks back to the site, and we put them back in almost the exact position they were in.
The mammoth is so well preserved that flesh and hair still cover the bones, offering an unprecedented opportunity for researchers.
I think it was an exciting discovery, and for me, who has spent around 33 years looking at mammoth bones and teeth and even dung, this was the first time I got to pet a mammoth.
The mammoth's final destination is this man-made cave carved out of the icy cold permafrost. It will serve as a naturally refrigerated research lab, which will prevent the mammoth's body from decaying as an international team of scientists examines it.
And you see here?
The ice found around the mammoth is also important because the ground it was buried in may offer clues about the animal's diet and lifestyle.
And we will gather much more information from the surrounding sediments, the frozen mud.
But most dramatically, some scientists want to bring a mammoth back to life. They hope to find reproductive cells intact so they can artificially inseminate an Asian elephant, the mammoth's closest living relative. Some believe that if undamaged DNA can be recovered, it might even be possible to clone a mammoth.
I'm sure that we will find good material on which experts in the field of DNA can work on.
It was the Dolgon, nomads who live on the Siberian tundra, who first discovered the frozen mammoth. They led Bouygues to this site where these mammoth tusks were protruding from the ground. Ground radar revealed that this mammoth was a male.
Here is the bones from the mammoth.
They began some exploratory digging and soon unearthed a pair of giant teeth, which told paleontologists the mammoth was about 47 years old when it died. Scientists hope conditions in the cold, hard permafrost of Siberia preserved the mammoth's tissue by mimicking the process known as cryogenics.
Cryogenics is the art of extreme low temperature freezing of tissue and cells. We have found over the last couple of decades that human cells and some animal cells that have been cryopreserved last very well.
In cryogenics labs, liquid nitrogen is routinely used to preserve human tissue at 321 degrees below zero. The tundra averages 5 degrees above, far warmer, but perhaps still cold enough to preserve some cells. That's what these Japanese researchers are banking on.
We want to revive a mammoth. That's what we want to do the most.
For years, frozen sperm has been used to artificially inseminate livestock. Now that a frozen male mammoth has been found, scientist Kazufumi Goto believes its sperm, if they have not decomposed, could be used to impregnate a female elephant.
If we do this, the offspring will be 50% mammoth. Then, from this half mammoth, we take another ovum, fertilized with sperm from the dead mammoth to create a 75% mammoth. We could keep doing this and get closer and closer to creating a full-blooded mammoth.
But the technique is chancy. Hybrid animals are hard to produce and are often infertile. So an even more incredible plan has been devised to try and clone a mammoth from frozen DNA using the same method that produced Dolly the sheep. An elephant would act as the surrogate mother.
The Asian elephant ovum has a nucleus. We would remove this and replace it with the nucleus from a mammoth cell. This way, after the gestation period, we'll have a pure mammoth offspring.
Though it sounds like science fiction, these ideas are not entirely dismissed.